Hi, welcome to our podcast about educating students in poverty. Poverty is a real issue in schools today and is more prevalent than you may believe. How can we remedy this issue or begin to turn things around? Education is the most vital anti-poverty solution that we have. How would you define poverty? Take a minute and think about that. Merriam-Webster defines poverty as the state of one who lacks a usual or socially acceptable amount of money or material possessions. Here's how some 4th and 5th graders defined it. In 2008, approximately 39.8 million Americans, including 13 million children, were officially considered poor and lived in families below the federal poverty level, which at that point was $20,000 a year for a family of 4. In 2011, about 46.2 million Americans were considered living in poverty. The threshold for poverty rose to $22,350. But poverty hits children disproportionately hard. All ethnic groups are susceptible to poverty. These are the statistics found in your book. Some other statistics that I've found include that 35% of black children live in poor families, 28% of Latinos, 29% of American Indians, 11% of Asian children, and 10% of white children live in poor families. So the poor are a very heterogeneous group, and 10% of all U.S. families live in poverty. I thought this was very interesting. America is thought of as a country where anyone can become rich, but we have the greatest gap between the high and the low wages. So think about this question. What do you think are the most important things that impact a person's ability to move from low income to middle class? One view is that one can be socially mobile and move to higher class with education and hard work, and those not achieving middle class status are inferiors. Hardships of low income groups are due to their lack of middle class values and behaviors, and it's the individual's fault for not achieving. However, it's been found that 3 things are the biggest factors in people getting out of poverty. First, family background. It's a major determinant of educational and occupational attainment. Individuals born into wealth are likely to achieve wealth. Those born into poverty have difficulty achieving wealth no matter how hard they work. Social class. Few variables impact a student's future more than class. Children from privileged classes have more advantages at home, for example, computers, books, travel, to enhance school success. Those students from privileged homes have access to the best K-12 schools and the best higher education. Social class often determines the types of employments one can attain. And finally, class mobility. The political economic system in the U.S. ensures that most persons remain to the class where they are born. There are a few persons who are really truly social and economically mobile. For example, professional athletes, entertainers, movie stars. But a college education is the most reliable means for social mobility from low income to middle class or higher. So, education is viewed as a way to enhance socioeconomic status. A bachelor's degree decreases the chance of being in poverty from 12.3% to 2.5% and increases income by 80% from about 28,000 to around 51,000. But only 30% of low-income black and Latino students go on to college compared to 78% of high-income white students. So what can schools do to help? We know that children in low-income families already lag significantly behind their more affluent peers when they begin kindergarten. So schools need to do things differently when working with children in poverty. On the screen you can see 4 things the schools can do. However, with the cuts in school funding, class sizes are rising. This makes it more difficult to educate all of our children, but especially those in poverty. Teachers who work with students in poverty need to understand the different experiences that their students bring. Schools can't just talk to students about going to college. Many of the students say that they want to go to college, but they don't have any idea how to really go about it. They don't have anyone who has been to college, and they may not know how to fill out applications, apply for scholarship or financial aid. Schools need to give that support. An example of this is the AVID program, and they have that here in Olathe. This works with students beginning in middle school to prepare them for college. Students from impoverished backgrounds need structure, routine, challenging work, and rigorous demands. Make sure that you follow through with everything you say. Don't lie to the students and say, "Oh, this is really easy." Tell them it's very hard work. Create an emotionally safe environment where students have a sense that the classroom is a family. Be endlessly persistent. It is very, very difficult, and sometimes you just feel like throwing your hands up, but be persistent. Make the education relevant to them and that they can make connections to. Make it engaging. Don't label your students, but do understand that poverty is a factor that causes students to be at risk for school failure. More practical things that you can do as a teacher are on this slide. And the bottom bullet, do not change your expectations, but realize you are going to have to give that extra support. There are other organizations that schools can tap into. Here's a few of them listed. There may be others in your school community. You can approach specific organizations for supplies for the school as a whole. You can tell the whole class and inform them about these kinds of organizations in the community. Assumptions cannot be made about the resources available to students at home. Get to know what your school, the community, and various companies have to offer in order to help the students be successful as possible. As a teacher, ensure discretion when providing information individually and discuss the various opportunities in a non-judgmental way with the entire class. We cannot blame the students for the hand that they have been dealt. Success is a choice. There's no luck involved. As educators, it is our duty to empower children to see the choices available to them and motivate them to select ones that stand to make the most difference in their lives. You are the biggest factor on student success in your classroom. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you continue thinking about poverty and the effects of that on students and the way that you can help students be successful. Thanks again for listening.